Hello everyone, we are starting with our colored pencil techniques today. So I have my set of Prisma pencils here. I've got some Crayola, some old Blick pencils as well. And I'll be using these to show you how to do these techniques here. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to make your own worksheets. So make sure you have your squares labeled and ready to go, and the final 3 circles are going to turn into spheres that you learn how to blend using different techniques with colored pencils. So I'm going to demo all of these things. So let's get started. So the first square here is light pressure. So light pressure, what you're going to do is you need to make sure that you're just very, lightly pressing down with your pencil and letting that paper show through. Then for heavy pressure, you are going to be pushing. We do not want any paper showing through with the heavy pressure. The size of my squares are roughly 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch roughly, or 3/4 by 1 inch. Your squares do not have to be very large. If you have huge squares, you're just going to end up wasting not wasting, but using up all your colored pencils. So for grade 8, what I need 2 different colors, and you are going to be showing me that you can do a nice smooth blend. And I'm using heavy pressure on this. This says grade 8 heavy, and so I'm pressing very hard, and I'm going to go over the top of my previous color with the lighter color. And you can see I'm going to get a little bit of a blend going. What I need to then do is swap over to my darker color. I'm going to go with a light pressure and just kind of pull in and finish blending so that there's really no hard line. Remember from our pencil graphite basic forms drawing, I wanted to see nice smooth transitions. Same with any transition with colored pencil. I want to see that you can make really nice smooth transitions. All right, grade 8 with light pressure. So you should be seeing the paper through. I'm going to go all the way across with my light value. And then I'm going to go again with my, still allowing that paper to kind of shine through. And I'm going to go back over it a little bit with this color. Still letting some of that paper shine through. All right, now this one's a little bit tricky. So with the burnishing with an eraser, what you're going to do is we're just gonna get some value started. I'm gonna go with a light pressure over here. Then I'm gonna grab my Elvin vinyl eraser, and I'm literally going to press nice and hard and kind of burnish that press. It's gonna lift some off, but then you'll be able to see it kind of blend very nicely. And then just know that once you go over a colored pencil with your eraser, you're gonna need to clean that off if you're gonna use it again in another area. So you just erase on a clean area. That'll lift it off, or get a scratch sheet of paper, and then you're good to go. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna blend colors together. I'm gonna do just one of these, and then you guys can do the other 2 swatches on your own. So you have blending red and yellow, and blending yellow and blue, and red and blue. So this is using the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, to get our secondary colors. So with this, whenever you're blending colors, whether it's colored pencil or paint, you want to lay down the lightest color first. So I know I'm going to be using this, so you could go over this swatch with yellow as well while you're at it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly go over with my darker color, allowing some of that lighter color to shine through. Now the orange is starting to pop through, and then when I go with heavy pressure now, I'm able to really mix those 2 colors together. And if you're not quite sure if you're getting a color switch to happen, so I could make it into like a little bit of a darker orange and transition it if I wanted. If you're not quite sure if you're seeing that color switch, you can lay down. Now again, I'm getting a dirty colored pencil, so you can clean that off. can test out your swatch. So there's my solid yellow, and then here's my solid red if you want to see that kind of color change. It's definitely a different color. So you'll do the yellow and blue and the red and blue to get your new colors. All right, down below here, now we've got grade 8 burnishing with white. Switch up your colors, test out a different color. I am going to go with a different blue. You can see how this works. Normally when you're coloring with a colored pencil, I would say, oh, and sometimes that happens. You can see my colored pencil just broke, the tip broke off. If you want to keep going, it's not gonna work. Thankfully, I've got another color that's the exact same color, and we're good to go. That's why it's good to have your handy dandy colored your pencil sharpener ready to go too. Okay, so burnishing with white. So I'm gonna go with heavy pressure, and then I'm gonna go light pressure. Then I'm gonna grab my white, and I'm gonna lay down, oh, and I have a dirty white again. I have to clean that off. I'm gonna press hard with my white on that side. I'm gonna drag it into the blue. Now you can see I've got a really nice smooth transition from a dark blue, or a darker blue, to a light blue to a white, and that's what I wanna see. Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to get a blending with black. So again, I'm going to lighten up my pressure here so that the black can mostly shine through. Now with the Prismacolored pencils, they are a little higher quality than the Blick colored pencils, just so you know. So if you're not seeing these rich colors like mine, sometimes it just has to do with the quality of the pencil. If you are loving colored pencil, I would highly recommend that you go purchase your Prismas on your own. They just blend so easily, and they're rich in color. All right, so we've got a really nice good blend there with black. Now for my gray, this Prisma set does not come with a gray, so I'm gonna grab my graphite from just a number 2 pencil, and I'm gonna lay some down, and then I'm gonna pull through with light pressure, and then I'll go back over it with my blue. And you can see with the graphite, it's not a true blend from one area to the next, because if I try to blend over the top, it doesn't work the best. But it's what I had, so I'm using it. So if you don't have a gray in your set, or it's not looking great, just test out, see what you can get, because I get that weird transition there. Do your best. So now with hatching, just as we know from our previous practice tutorial on value scales, hatching goes in one direction. The hatching on the light side is spread apart, and as you get to your midtones, they get closer together, and over here they should really be touching, and then they kind of start separating out. Cross hatching, and when you test these out, I would I'm getting dirty. Cross hatching, you're going to have it go 2 directions. So I'm going to spread it apart there, and then go 2 different directions. Try to get it really close together down in this corner, and then we'll separate it out up here. It's not perfect, but it'll do. I'm able to see at least a little bit of a transition. Then for stipple, again, you tested this out with your graphite, with your pencils. Stippling is just a lot of little dots. Try to show me some transition in your swatch from light to medium to dark. Georges Seurat was a famous painter who painted The Afternoon on La Grande Jetée, and he stippled with multiple colors, and then those colors kind of, as you step away from the painting, blend together to new colors. We'll be testing out stipple with your ink drawings as well. And with ink, you really have a lot of control over value. So I'm gonna try to stay far apart first. I'm gonna leave that area. And scumbling is just swirls. It just has a different texture. It's a technique to test out. Scumble close together for your dark value and further apart for your light. And smooth, you've been testing out your smooth, but I wanna see you go from just a nice smooth color swatch. From light to dark. We'll use light pressure here on one side and dark heavy pressure on the other, and I just want to see a nice gradient there. Okay, so for our spheres, we have 3 different techniques. I want you to try out the crosshatch technique. I find that to be the hardest one. In the example picture, I would try to do the same colors that you're seeing me use, just so that it's a little bit easier to translate and you can see the exact colors that I use. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a range of greens. I'm gonna grab a black. I'm going to grab a yellow and a white. And there's another green that I need to use as well. It should work. And then what we're going to do, I like to start with the smooth one first. When you do your smooth blend, and really on all of these, I would say start with your mid-tone. When you also lay down your value, don't just lay it down with vertical strokes like this. It's gonna really flatten your sphere. You want to have your value go down, pretending like you're painting around an actual sphere. Curve your lines. Plan out where your light's coming from. My light is gonna be coming from this direction, and then my shadows are gonna be over here. So I'm gonna lay that in. I'm gonna go with a darker value. And you can tell that I'm using a light pressure to just begin with. It's an easy way to start just building up the colored pencil value, but eventually you should be adding enough colored pencil down where on a smooth blended sphere, I shouldn't be able to see any paper through. That is the goal. And you can see my sphere is starting to expand because I'm kind of going outside my lines. Ooh, and that's not a great color. You can see it. Well, it's not horrible, but it's not great. And another thing to keep in mind, you can see as I go over this side, my outline from my original pencil is showing through. So you want to be able to maybe even go a little bit lighter with those outlines. I'm going to just ditch that guy. I don't like that color. I'll try this guy. That's a little better. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my yellow and we're going to add in a highlight here. This is where that light is hitting. And then it's just going to be going back in, and I'm going to darken my shaded side. Really get that dark. Then go with that next value. And in order to get a really smooth blend, you're going to have to go back and forth between those 2 values to get a nice smooth transition. I want you thinking about the 5 kinds of light from our previous lesson. How do I include a mid-tone, a highlight, a core of the shadow, the cast shadow, the reflected light? And I want you to include all of those in. Now, here's the black, and now you'll be able to see when I bring in that black over the top, I'm gonna leave some reflected light down here so that reflected light is that light that bounces off the table and back onto the sphere. And then I'll throw down my cast shadow right next to it, and then you can kind of see that space pop. If I had black right down next to it, you wouldn't be able to see that rounded area of the bottom of the sphere. So keep that in mind. Then I'm gonna go in with my white and I'm gonna really make this highlight pop. So you can see we're using all of these different techniques to really create a nice smooth blend to make a sphere look like it's more three-dimensional. For underpaint, this is also a really fun one. I like this one because it starts to get you to think about using multiple values to bring out multiple values in an object. For example, in our still life, we are going to be testing out how to draw an apple. Apples have all sorts. Oh, I grabbed the wrong color. It's a purple. I meant to grab my blue. So I'm starting off with just a light pressure for this underpainting, and you'll really see these blues shine through when I go over it with the next greens. So I'm going to grab my mid-tone of my green. You can see over the left side here where I use that lighter color blue, the green stays very light. When I grab my darker blue, as the green overlaps, you're seeing a darker green. And then we're gonna make those kind of pop out even more. I'm gonna grab my darker green. So that was like my mid-tone green. I'm gonna go over the top with my darker green. Start getting darker. And then I'm gonna try out this lighter green on this side. Now you see I have this hard line right here. I'm not liking that at all. So I'm gonna have to go over with my mid-tone green to try to blend that away. No hard lines between values. Try to get rid of those the best that you can. And the only way to do it is to go over it with another, similar value. So now I'm gonna make my highlight pop on this side. Go in there with some white. Grab my black. Can really go dark here with my black. Remember that reflected light area if you can. Where is it? I need to work on my shadows. There we go. And we have two different spheres going on here. I could grab a yellow and kind of a pop of color there too. Then with cross-hatching. Cross-hatching, you're gonna be starting again. I would recommend to start with your mid-tone value. And remember with cross-hatching, the lines should be going in multiple directions. So I'm gonna go curve them, pretend I'm going around a ball. So our lines are curved. And when you're kind of straight down in the middle, those curved lines are a little less curved in the middle. And then when you go the other opposite direction, they're gonna spread apart. So I would say my cross-hatching techniques are probably my area I need the most work in. So now I'm gonna go cross-hatching with darker value. Not too much on that side. I'm gonna keep going with the two directions. Pretend I'm pulling through on this side. Now it's going to be important to continue that overlapping of multiple values. And on your cross-hatching sphere, I do want to be able to see that you've attempted to go two directions with your values to make it look rounded. That is definitely not perfect, but we'll make it work. That's going okay. See what you can get. Now on the shadow, what you're going to want to do, instead of curving to make a crosshatch shadow look flat, you can just do more straighter lines like that. And just do your best on your crosshatch shadow, and that should work. So when you are done, you should have something similar to mine. Good luck to you all.